final story in our series about British crimes of passion. Love you to death in an hour. First, Fab Gear, fifth gear.
Another driver who's covered by car insurance from More Than. Sponsors of Fifth Gear.
In tonight's Fifth Gear, Tiff tests the new Range Rover. Is it really the best off-roader in the world? Adrian drives Nissan's new, distinctive Primera. And I meet the boys who are Saxo mad.
What I'm about to tell you isn't going to make me very popular. Car dealers will be sticking pins in wax effigies of Wilson, and private sellers up and down the country will be throwing their furniture at the television. What I'm about to tell you contradicts everything you'll read from so-called experts in glossy car mags. But what the hell? It's the truth, and you need to know.
Classic cars aren't selling. The market's gone soft. Why? Well, there's September the 11th, tumbling new and used car prices, and a growing realization that a lot of these old crocs are simply overpriced.
Now here's the thing. At the moment, the old car game is the one corner of the used car market that offers the canny buyer, people like you and me, the most outrageous and ridiculous value for money. Let me explain.
Take this Jaguar S-Type, nice level 67 example, chrome wire wheels and a desirable 3.8 engine and overdrive combo. Mileage 57,000, with sheafs of history, plus recent bills for a specialist overhaul of 10 grand.
So what's that worth? 10? 8? 5? Wrong. This very car was sold just 2 months ago at auction for £3,800. I'll say that again, £3,800.
Yet just 2 months ago, this very car was advertised for $10,750. Time to meet an owner who's become a monster auction fan.
It was my lucky day. I got there at 1:45. I saw the car at 1:55, and I bought it by 1:15. And I'll tell my employers I was back at work by 2.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a good day. And it drove well.
Because there's always that heart-stopping moment, isn't there, when you drive it home and you just see the oil pressure gauge just go down like that.
I didn't want to see that, and it didn't happen, so I was very relieved, but very, very happy that I bought something that was fantastic value for money.
There will be people out there who are saying, no, I would never, ever go to an auction. It's too terrifying, too much risk. What do you say to that?
Auctions aren't for the faint-hearted, whether it's new cars or classic cars like this. But if you've got the courage of your convictions and you've done your preparation, there's money to be made and there's rewards to be reaped from it, I would say.
You think you might even take a bit of profit out of it when you come to sell it?
You never know, do you, Quentin? You never know.
No, John, you don't. Which is why I would have loved to have been at the auction when this agonizingly beautiful Maserati Ghibli went under the hammer.
I used to have one of these. It was a big hit with the ladies. And the reason why this car is such an outrageous, unbelievable bargain is that it comes with bills for £50,000, yet it cost its very shrewd new owner at auction £16,300. It is unbelievable. This car is emphatically not a pig in a poke. It drives beautifully, plenty of urge, listen to that. Interior is beautiful, it's just waiting to be pointed at Geneva and pull the trigger. Why am I frittering my life away making television programs when I could be out buying Maseratis? I mean, it's just joy.
This was the actual Earl's Court Motor Show car in 1967. Plus, it's had a titled owner, so it's got provenance, just the way I like them. Last year, it was on a forecourt for £32,500. Didn't sell. Earlier this year, it was up for £29,000. Didn't sell. So the owner cut his losses and packed it off to auction, where it fetched just over 16,000 quid. Time for our final auction bargain. Charming, usable, economical, and so terribly, terribly English, a nice minor ragtop like this would make maybe £3,000 at a dealer. It's a 1959, last owner 26 years, lots of history, and a genuine 67,000 miles from new. According to the MOT, it's only done 100 miles in the last year. So what would you give for this disarming reminder of the way we were?
How does 1,800 quid sound? Well, that's what one very shrewd lady paid for this 2 months ago at auction. Sadly, she can't be with us today because she's visiting a relative in Bournemouth. Where else? But she's very kindly written us a little note to tell us exactly what she thinks of her new purchase.
Dear Mr. Wilson, I do hope you've fallen in love with Mildred as much as I have. She runs beautifully, always starts first time, and looks half her age. Do look after her, she's very special to me. P.S. Bournemouth is lovely. Yours very sincerely, Mrs. M. Evans. So, if after seeing our trinity of classics, which were knocked down at prices tantamount to theft, you're still not persuaded to take the plunge, then I'll make it really simple. I'll do it for you. On next week's programme, I'll be on the trail of the biggest classic bargain of them all, and when I've found it, I'll give it away in a competition. But first, a reminder of our current competition, a driving day with Tiff at Silverstone's ultimate supercar experience.
If you're 21 or over and have held a full licence for 3 years, try your luck and answer this question. What did Lamborghini originally manufacture? Was it tractors, trains, or typewriters? Call 0901 565 5001 to enter, and we'll show that number again at the end of the programme. Lines close on the 14th of June, and you can also enter via our website, which features more details on all that's best about the programme, plus a bit more.
Over there is one of those new Nissan Primeras. Nice colours, decent ride, and a choice of some 3 engines. Prices kick off at 14,600 quid and come to halt at just under 20. Right, that's out of the way. Let's get to the best bit.
We'll fast forward past the exterior. Basically, the headlamps are a work of art, but the overall one-box shape is the work of a 5-year-old.
Instead, let's talk about the interior, which is a work of genius.
Nissan have turned dashboard design on its head, and you wonder why no one has done it before. Gone is the normal boxy approach, to be replaced by a dash that swoops round from door to door, and as a result, the cabin feels vast.
The steering wheel is pretty much where you'd expect to find it, but the Speedo isn't. But it makes everything feel so much less cluttered, and it takes about 1 second to get used to. Now we come to my favourite part, this central bank of buttons and switches, which Nissan have lifted out of the gloom by your knee and put on this much more sensible level. It looks pretty complicated, but after 5 minutes of bloody-mindedly not reading the instructions, I got it sussed. It is the most blissfully straightforward system, and if you go for the SE or above, you get this nice big colour screen to check everything on. Brilliant.
There's another reason to buy an SE, your very own rear-view camera. Select reverse and a perfect image is brought up, night or day, of what you're about to crash into.
It's superb! I want one in my home. It's just about the best gadget I've ever seen. And do you know what? It's made me realise just how underrated reversing actually is.
The gizmos don't stop there. I haven't even mentioned alloys, rain-sensing wipers, integrated hands-free for your mobile, and apparently 5 forward gears are standard too. Although they're not really as good. They're not connected to any camera, are they?
Nissan used to focus on making the Primera a superb driver's car, and this one is not a chip off the old block. Thanks to soft suspension and steering, it doesn't like to be chucked around. But let's face it, the other one was a fantastic car to drive, and that got it precisely nowhere.
What will get this car places, though, is its practicality. Despite having a healthily huge boot, there's still plenty of room in the rear for reclining in loose robes.
Even the grab handles adapt. Surely a sign that Nissan have come of age.
The Primera is starting to make a strong case for itself. Dad will like the price, Mum will like the space, and the kids will love the toys.
OK, so the 1.8-litre engine is a bit rough around the edges, and the manual gearbox is the same notchy mess it's always been. But none of that matters. The looks don't even matter. I happen to like them, plenty won't, but who cares? They haven't got a rear-view camera.
Nissan have focused on the things that really count in this neck of the woods, like design, practicality and attention to detail. It brightens up suburbia far more than the run-of-the-mill Passats and Vectras, and is a far more interesting proposition than the Mondeo. You could say, in fact, that it's, leapfrog to the top of the Retmobile pile.
The Primera may be just another four-door saloon, but it's the first one in ages that makes mundane, everyday driving interesting. And it's got a rear-view camera.
After the break, Tiff's definitive verdict on the new Range Rover, and Vicky on why the Citroen Saxo is Britain's favourite hotted-up hot hatch.
Readers of Britain's best-selling car magazine and the modifier's Bible, Max Power, have voted the Citroen Saxo their favourite hot hatch. So, just what is it about this modest French fancy?
I chose the Citroen Saxo because it was basically my first car, and when I was 17 at the time, they were doing a 2 years free insurance policy.
It's brilliant to drive, it's great fun.
These chaps may have been lured by cheap insurance and nifty handling, but what keeps them mad about their Saxo is the fact that they can change them beyond recognition. In the world of Max Saxos, size matters. 17-inch alloys matter. A few inches of ground clearance matters. Spoilers matter. And perhaps most importantly of all, a decent paint job matters. One of the best examples of the breed belongs to Paul Neal. Keys. Yeah. Paul, this Saxo is very, very tidy. How much have you spent on it?
I spent just over 33,000 on it.
Oh my God. How did that money get spent?
Engine, suspension, brakes, interior, stereo, body styling.
Paul, why did you choose a Saxo? Why don't you take your £30,000 that you spent on this car and buy, I don't know, a Porsche Boxer, something that's got performance and good looks?
At the end of the day, it's just going to be like any other car that's that make and that model. I wanted something different that would stand out from the crowd.
A cool car needs a hot stereo, and owners reckon that the Saxo is very good for acoustics. Paul, how much power has this thing got?
About 3,000 watts.
That's a lot. And he fitted it all himself. The split batteries, a JL amp, and Infinity Perfect subs. Oh yes. Saxo boys need toys, and what better than a PlayStation? If you don't like any of the standard interior, then change it. Whatever you want, you can get. Another fine beast is this rude boy VTR. £29,000 later, its black and silver interior gives it a Japanese street racer look. There are no rear seats, just a rather large speaker. The body's been de-seamed to make those add-ons look seamless. Big alloys and fat exhausts are good, but it's the colour that's rather special. And why did you go for this particular paint job? It all sparkles in the sun, doesn't it?
It's very, very tricky. It's a sunshine paint. Basically, I've had a 3-colour pearl put into a lacquer.
Yeah.
And then you then spray it over a 2-pack base of black, and it reacts in the sunshine. It's very trick.
So you need to be abroad, really, to make the most of it?
Yeah.
Since filming last week, Tony's repainted it. The 3rd colour change in 6 months. That boy's never satisfied. Sometimes looks are everything. This one's all sheep and no wolf. Yes, it's a 1.1 litre. Nice. Does it frustrate you at all that, you know, this car does look so great and yet it doesn't perform as well as it looks?
Oh, all the time. When we go to cruises, I've got the smallest engine, and everyone just goes off, and then I sort of have to poodle along behind them, about 10 minutes behind.
Do you have to be careful of the wheels, you know, when it comes to curbing and any delicate manoeuvring or anything?
Yeah, well, I can't get full lock anymore, so...
Really?
Yeah, it rubs on the inside. So I can't... A 3-point turn becomes a 10-point turn.
This game isn't just about big bumpers and super stereos. What makes the Saxo world such fun is that it's easy to stand out from the crowd and be part of one.
Over the last few months, motoring journalists have been foaming at the mouth, raving about the new Range Rover. Some have even gone as far as to name it their car of the year.
So, is this new Range Rover really the best off-roader the world has ever seen? Back in the 70s, when the original was launched, it created its own one-horse race. But nowadays, it faces stiffer opposition from prestige marques like BMW's X5 and Mercedes M-Class. It can no longer get away with just being good over the rough stuff. It's got to perform well on the road and have all the luxury and style to create a real impression.
Visually, I'm not so sure. It's grown taller, narrow and rather slab-sided. But once you've got used to the sheer proportions of it, you notice how well old meets new. Like how the classic clamshell bonnet is complemented by the designer lights and bold air vents.
Open the door, and it's like entering the penthouse suite of the Savoy.
Get a drink, have a good time now. Welcome to paradise.
In Vogue trim, the Range Rover costs £60,000, and the great slabs of cherry wood and Oxford hide neatly house all those modern essentials such as sat-nav, TV, every which-way adjustable seats, and one of the nicest steering wheels I've ever held. It's even heated.
But whilst Range Rover have been creating art, BMW haven't been lying down. They've recently introduced this £54,000 flagship 4.6-litre X5, which strikes an impressive pose with its flared arches and 20-inch rims. With £4,500 worth of extras added, it virtually matches the specification of the Vogue. In terms of practicality, all you're missing is a slightly bigger boot and a bit of extra space in the back. But in terms of style and elegance, you've moved from a work of art to just another BMW dashboard. The Mercedes M-Class has now become a familiar sight. This ML500 is £18,000 cheaper than the Range Rover and the only one of the three to offer a 7-seater option. But you can see where the savings have been made. The interior is more home-based than Harrods.
Very functional, but simply lacking in any style. Yes, there's some quality leather, but in comparison, it's a lacklustre effort. So the Range Rover wins the prestige test hands down for its sheer opulence and presence.
Sadly, when driving, I'm afraid to say, I find this beautiful dashboard a bit of a distraction with all its different colours and textures. This wooden chrome is constantly catching my eye. A work of art it may be, but I prefer the workmanlike simplicity of the BMW. Mind you, I do love this steering wheel.
But what about its handling? Because it's here that Range Rovers of the past have always struggled. So they've finally ditched the old-school separate chassis and replaced it with a modern monocoque construction, complete with independent suspension.
And its on-road manners have been transformed. Yes, you still feel the bigger bumps, but they no longer shake you to pieces.
Unfortunately, the steering itself is a bit on the light side, and there's still a fair degree of roll in the corners. But as most of these machines spend most of their time in towns and on motorways, that may not matter.
Mind you, handling is important when it comes to accident avoidance. In the past, there have been too many horror stories of off-roaders rolling over central reservations.
So we put them to the ultimate test to discover which really is the best handling of the three.
BMW is in its element. It really inspires confidence with surprisingly little roll and a great steering feel that puts you in touch with what's going on beneath you. This isn't a car you'd enjoy just driving up and down motorways or around towns. You enjoy driving it everywhere. Despite a pretty dramatic amount of roll, the Merc hangs on pretty gamely. I don't think it's too happy that I've switched off its ESP. It actually handles very well. Steering's a bit light, but apart from that, it's a lot of fun. Give me another £10,000 in the AMG version with its extra 55 horsepower, and I reckon I could give that Beamer a run for its money. Sadly, the Range Rover is left wallowing in their wake. And even with the DSC off, if I turn into this sharp corner, you can actually feel the front brake grabbing on to lock the tyre to stop me sliding off the road, which of course is a very good thing to have if you're caught out on a country bend one night. Up the hill here where the BMW is pulling 96 miles an hour, I'm doing just 86 miles an hour. So it really does show weight is all important. This body roll is quite alarming when compared with the BM.
After just 1.6 miles around the Alton Park racetrack, the BMW is already 5 seconds ahead of the Mercedes, and the Range Rover is a further 5 seconds behind that. On the track, the best is only third best. And as far as ordinary, everyday, muddy field off-roading is concerned, I'm sure all three are equally capable, and any differences will depend more on what tyres are fitted than the cleverness of their suspension.
So, back to the original question. Is the new Range Rover the best off-roader the world has ever seen? Well, if performance and dynamics are what you're into, no, the BMW is better. For sheer value for money, it's hard to ignore the Mercedes. But if unsurpassed luxury and prestige are all that matters, then the Range Rover is definitely the new standard bearer. Oh yes, and if you do want to go bonkers off-road in your £60,000 limo, I've no doubt nothing does it better.
Next week, I go off-road on 2 wheels. Big guns, Tiff drives the latest Subaru Impreza and Mitsubishi Evo. Lucky boy. And Adrian tests Mercedes' very sensible new E-Class.
To get the best deal on buying a car, call us on 0901 565 5004 for our free car buyer's guide in association with DC Cook Direct. Calls cost 60p a minute and should last no longer than 3 minutes. And Vicky Butler Henderson's about to start chatting online at channel5.co.uk/fifth gear. So why don't you join her?
Another driver who's covered by car insurance from More Than, sponsors of Fifth Gear.